Welcome everyone to this evening's Tuesday night, October 23rd, Daly City's regular Recreation Commission meeting. I'd like everyone to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First of all, for those wishing to address the Recreation Commission on any items on the agenda or under public appearance or oral communications, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance of the City Council chambers and submit to staff members as early in the meeting as possible. Also, persons with disabilities who require auxiliary aids or services in attending or participating in this meeting should call the Department of Library and Recreation Services as soon as possible prior to this meeting. May I have a roll call, Joseph?
You certainly may.
Yes.
Commissioner Flamenco.
Here.
Commissioner Luna.
Here.
Chair Pastor.
Here. Okay. May I have an approval of this evening's agenda, please?
I motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I motion to approve the agenda too.
Okay, that's our second. Those in favor do say aye.
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 All right. And also, the approval of our September minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Aye.
Okay. You have a motion?
I second.
Okay. Those in favor of approving our last minutes do say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. All right. We're on to our, let's see here, September 25th, 2018 minutes, and then our director's report.
Indeed, the moment we've been waiting for. So throughout the past 6 months or so, we've been updating you periodically on the progress being made on the city's Parks and Open Space Master Plan. And today, we have the benefit of having the team behind the master plan with us and introduce our new, brand spanking new Director of Public Works, Richard Chu.
Richard.
Also from Public Works, our Senior Management Analyst, Sabeli Cayes. And then you want to come up and introduce your team? And at this point in the meeting, I'm going to turn it over to Gates & Associates, who is the third-party consultant who's working on the Parks and Open Space Master Plan.
Okay, my name is Gail Donaldson. I'm from Gates & Associates.
My name is Melanie O'Sullivan. I'm with Gates & Associates. We're happy to be here.
We're very happy to be here. We were hired by the city to help put together a Parks and Open Space Master Plan that is going to be the guiding document for Parks and Open Space for the city for the next 20 years. I first have to learn how to manipulate this thing here.
Oh, you're good.
Master plan team. We're working closely with the city, with city staff, and moving forward with this plan. So we're here basically to give you an update of where we've gotten to so far and what we're going to be doing next. And also to get any input, direction, guidance, or ideas that you have that you would like to have included in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So that's what I just said. We're going to be reviewing the progress, and we're going to be getting, we hope to get input from you and direction from you if you have anything that you would like to see covered that we don't talk about. So the purpose of the plan is to, we've gone through assessing the condition. You have 28 parks and open spaces here in Daly City, which is something that has surprised a lot of the people that we've done outreach to, because people don't realize that you have so many parks in the city. So it's been partly an educational process to let people know the different amenities that are here in Daly City. We've been doing an analysis of the conditions of the existing parks with the help of park staff, park maintenance staff. And we've been going out to the community for outreach. We have an advisory committee that has helped guide our process, and we've gone out to we've found that rather than calling community meetings and asking people to come to us at a city office or something, that we reach more people by going to neighborhood events, and Melanie's going to be talking about that a little bit later. So as I said, the goal is to create a roadmap for the parks and open space for the city, and a document that will help guide decisions for the next 20 years. You do have some city planning documents that discuss parks and recreation, and the city general plan has a resource management goal that specifically addresses parks. It talks about ensuring the enhancement and preservation of existing resources for future generations, providing adequate or recreational open space for future generations. And that is really important, looking at the existing resources, because Daly City is so confined in the amount of space that you have to expand parks. It's really difficult to find more park space here because you're so built out. Although with development occurring, there will be more park space that is built when new housing development, for example, down in the Bay Shore area. So there's opportunities to look at new park facilities, but we want to look at your existing parks to see, are they being well used? Are there things that people would like to see in their parks that are not in the parks? And that's one of the main reasons we've been going out to the community and working with the advisory committee to get input to see what your residents really want to see in their existing parks so that they can have the highest and best use that we can have. The park facility policy in the general plan is in the resource management element too. Encourage a diverse, equitable and integrated system of park facilities that are accessible to all ages, social and economic groups, and throughout the city. So we want to really be able to provide a park system that serves the entire city and serves the entire population. Because the park space to expand in is so limited, the general plan focused on improving Muscle Rock Park, but that has a lot of challenges just because of the geology and the fact that it's unstable and part of it's on a landfill, but also to require park dedication fees from new development, which the city does, so there is a source of funds for new parks as new housing is built in the city. And right now there are a number of units that are already in the entitlement process, and the city's going to continue to grow, so there will be funds to require more park space to be built. There are other plans that are going on concurrently. The Public Works Department's been looking at the facilities. We're just looking at the parks, not the community centers, the swimming pools, or anything like that. We're not looking at the buildings, but we are looking at the parks. At the same time, there's a bicycle and pedestrian master plan being done, which is really important because access to the parks, not having to drive to parks, is a really important element. So we're coordinating with the bike and pedestrian master plan consultants as well to try to see whether there are places that our plans can reinforce each other and that we can have ideas on how to make it easier for people to get to their parks. What plan is going to include, the master plan document is going to have existing conditions assessment of all 28 parks and open spaces, and it's going to have a discussion of the demographics of Daly City, because it's important to know what to expect as far as the population, the aging of the population, the growth of the population, who lives here, who's going to be using the parks. We look at national trends too. There's a lot of things that come up in recreation that are happening across the country that may be applicable here or may be of interest here. And with this information and going out to the community and investigating what people feel is needed in the parks, what they like about the parks, we come up with a needs assessment and start figuring out what should we be looking at in terms of goals, of policies, and of specific recommendations in specific parks. And the end result would be an action plan that tries to identify short-term things that can be done, medium-term things, and long-term things, and makes recommendations on how the city should prioritize improvements to the park system. So far, we have done the basic inventory of your existing parks, again with the help of the park maintenance staff who know their parks really, really well. But we've gone out to most of the parks ourselves. I call it an ongoing assessment because we keep getting feedback from the community, so it's a feedback loop. We also did a focus group meeting with the entire park maintenance staff to hear from them what they think is working and what they see as problems and what they can, what suggestions they have for making improvements. We've made a community engagement plan about how to reach out to the community, and we've had 2 meetings with our advisory committee that help us work our way through this process. We also did a statistically valid phone survey, and that was a phone survey asking people's opinions about Daly City's parks and open spaces. And they got results from about 405 people on the phone. And they looked statistically to try make sure that it reflected the demographics of Daly City. They had the demographic information. They wanted to make sure that they reached all the different types of constituents in Daly City, whether they're park users or not. So it should be statistically valid, and we have some of the results here that we'll get to. They have to make, I don't know, something like 10,000 phone calls to get that statistically valid response. So it's quite an undertaking. We've been at 5 community events so far. We're going to be at one more in November, but we've been at, Melanie can go into that some more too. But as I said, we get more people to interact with when we go to places where the community is gathering, rather than saying, come to a meeting at City Hall at 7 o'clock on a Thursday or something like that. And we've done the demographics and trends research and studies, and I'll go over that. The advisory committee, as I said, has been giving us input and helping guide the process, and they've also, we asked them to reach out to their communities, whether it's homeowners associations or, baseball league or, whatever their interests are, to try to get the word out, because we have an ongoing presence on the website. We have a website where there's a survey and a map that can be done. So we keep reaching out to try to get more responses from the community so that we make sure that people are really heard and represented in the plan. Looking at the demographics, you probably know you're one of the most densely populated cities in California. There's 14,000 residents per square mile compared to the rest of San Mateo County. If the county as a whole has about 1,000. So you're pressed for space. So we really need to try to make sure that the space that you have is well used. Population has grown since the census in 2010 and continues to grow, not at a breakneck speed, but you're getting more population as time goes on. And while the sort of middle adult population has been pretty stable, since 2010, the number of people under age 25 has dropped a bit, and the people that are over 65 has raised a bit. So you've got a little bit of age shifts going on. So we really want to make sure that we can provide things in the parks that serve different age groups, as well as, not just tot lots, but things where seniors can go, where people can exercise and walk around. And we also found that there's over 4,100 grandparents living in households with kids under 18. So we really want to find ways to make the spaces multi-generational so that there are things for everybody to do in the parks, which is sometimes a challenge in some of the tiny parks, but we need to think about that. You know that you're a very diverse city with a lot of different ethnic demographics, and there's some differences in the way that groups use parks, so we want to make sure that we hear from all of the different demographic groups. And we have a large population of people who speak a different language than English at home, so the communications, we've done all our communications with translations into Spanish and Chinese, and hopefully have reached as many people as we can that way. When we look at the national trends, some of the things that are going on are people are getting more innovative with their play spaces. They're moving away from the platform and slide and climber kind of play structures and looking for things that are more interesting and more memorable. So that's a trend that could be applied as playgrounds are being renovated and play areas are being renovated in Daly City. Health, wellness, walkability. There's a lot of focus on getting out, finding places to walk. If you go out to Marchbank Park in the middle of the day, you'll see people walking around the track. It's really important to find places. And things that have come up high in the community outreach are pathways and places to walk. So people are using the parks to get exercise. Children and teens. Teens are sort of the hard group. You have a really good recreational program for teens, but finding teen hangout space is sometimes challenging because they're too big for the play structures, but they want a place that's sort of their own to be able to hang out. So we've been asking about gathering spaces. What kind of places do people want to get together in the parks? There is a trend, it's a national trend, the aging population, and again, it's not just making parks for seniors, it's making parks that have things in that are usable for seniors, and also thinking about how our multi-generational families going to use parks. If you have a tot lot that doesn't have any seating and shade around it, then where do the parents and the grandparents sit when the kids are playing in the park? So we're looking at those kind of aspects of the park spaces as well. Sustainability, climate change is on a lot of people's minds. It's on the city's agenda, the city's radar as well. You have your green plan in the city, and we want to incorporate sustainability recommendations into the park, whether it's stormwater, low impact development, stormwater treatment, as in the picture on the right, left, or, not just drinking fountains, but water bottle filling stations and solar things that could be making savings in energy efficiency. You have a very rich historical and cultural community here, and one of the things that comes up really high in the outreach is community events, and the cultural events that the city puts on are really popular. So how do we make sure that there's space in the parks for those to happen when the weather is good, which is also a challenge in Daly City. But we really ask because a lot of people wanted to see different kinds of gathering spaces and more gathering spaces. They like the community events. Dog parks comes up. Some people are dissatisfied with the lack of dog parks because people with dogs don't necessarily follow the rules about keeping their dogs on leash. So looking for places where there might be some places that are convenient and distributed around town to have dog places where people can take their dogs and let them run without causing disturbance to other dogs or people in the parks. And they don't have to be just dirt patches. They can be people are doing agility dog parks where there's stairs and tunnels and things for the dogs, and just make it look more interesting and more pleasant. Technology is another issue. That's probably one of the teen things and one of the multi-generational things. When the kids are playing on the swings and you want to check your email or do some work from the office. And there's the flip side. Some people want the parks to be Wi-Fi free. So we sort of want to get a sense of what that is, because there's certainly an opinion that if you're out in nature in a park, that you shouldn't be sitting there looking at your phone. So that's an issue that we want to get feedback and direction on and see where, make recommendations about where it's appropriate and where it might not be. Some of the other interesting things that are coming up are these fitness stations, not just kind of the park horses that you used to see with the wooden pull-up bars and things like that, but there's getting to be a lot of activity around compact spaces with fitness components, and that's appealing to all ages. Seniors use them. There's ones that you can do with apps so that you can sort of have competition about who's doing more pull-ups and who's doing more this and that. Pickleball is something that's become very popular, and there's real pickleball advocates in Daly City, so that's something that we're looking at, of where that might be without displacing tennis that's being used and things like that. And another trend is, especially in built-out places where there's not a lot of extra room, is pop-up parks, whether it's the little parklets that take over space in front of a cafe where people can go sit and have some greenery around them, or whether it's things like San Francisco does with the Sunday streets, where they'll close a street for Sunday and then people can go ride their bikes or, dance on the street or whatever. So there's a lot of trends and there's a lot of ideas that we've tried to put out and say, are you interested in this? And see what the community response was. And we're, this is informal, so any questions or comments anytime, please feel free to interrupt. But
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done as far as community input to this point. So as Gail said, we have a community engagement plan. It's comprised of essentially 3 rounds. The first round of I guess we'll call them outreach events, is really broad, right? What is your vision of the parks? We kind of cue them with pictures and you put dots and, big ideas, lighting, play structure, nothing really, crazy. Round 2, we kind of, it's a little bit of a deeper dive. We take those, probably going ahead, but we take those kind of general ideas that they really liked, and then we ask more pointed questions, like what specifically do you want as far as safety? Is it lighting? Is it, dogs in closed areas, things like that. And then round 3, which we haven't gotten to yet, will be kind of a reaction to the draft master plan. And how does it reflect your vision? This is our engagement schedule. So round one, you can see we had our 3 events, August 2nd, August 4th, and August 7th. Wham, bam, right in a row.
Yeah.
We were busy, and we also launched the statistically valid phone survey. So those kind of all happened together. Then we rolled that into round 2. And so that was over the last couple of months, with our final event being in November. In the Bayshore Elementary School, they have a family heritage lunch, so we'll have a little booth there. And at the same time that we're doing these 3 events for round 2, we also have the online surveys going. So we're really pushing hard to get people not only at events and get their input, but also using the online survey, which we have been communicating, via emails and the advisory committee and Facebook and social media, and driving people to the Daly City Parks website. So how we're getting the word out, I kind of touched on this, social media platforms. I know we've ran some ads on Facebook and Instagram, and then school newsletters. We've been in touch with a lot of the school principals and getting the word out, and maybe if they can put flyers in their schools just to kind of get people to know what's going on. HOA newsletters, libraries, community centers, senior centers, child development centers, recreation center, anywhere we can advertise what we're doing and get input, the more the merrier. Signs in all parks. We've been involved in several of the newsletters that are going out. I think there's one going out at the end of this month. I'm blanking on that, but we've done a couple of newsletters and then newspapers as well.
And we have seen when we've put the ads, when we put the posts out on Facebook, or when we've been at these booth events, or when we've had the newspaper ad or the newsletter, there is a spike in the participation in the online survey and the online interactive map.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I have that slide, but we can absolutely get it to you, where you can see like the direct correlation between when we put that ad out and how many people went to the site. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you don't think that stuff works, it does. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
So round one, just to tell you what we did, we had 1 booth at 3 events. So we did the farmer's market, is one I was at personally. And so basically, like I said, we asked the general questions. What do you like? What should we add? Here are your existing parks, what do you like? If you were to choose in your wildest dreams what you would want in your ideal park, what would you add? So we did spend the dots. Everyone loves putting dots. And then we compiled the information. At the same time, the phone survey was going on. Gail kind of talked about it. They do roughly, would you say, 10,000 calls to get 400 responses to make it statistically valid. So one of the things, what would improve satisfaction? Number 1 was lighting and safety. So you can kind of see where the trends are. Oh yeah, there's trends here in the bottom.
Yeah, and if you look at the previous slide, there's things that can't come up across the board, whether it was on the survey, whether it was at the different events that we went to. That was the Health and Safety Fair, the Farmers Market, and the National Night Out. So at all of those places, I think the trails and pathways came up pretty high, playgrounds. We highlighted playgrounds because they came up in all of our inquiries. Yes. More updated playgrounds, community events were popular.
Restrooms.
A lot of people would like to see more restrooms in the parks, but you have to choose those where they're most appropriate. Lighting and
and that definitely is in line with what we received as far as feedback from the phone survey. Lighting being number 1. Once again, restrooms. Better play areas and more amenities.
Yeah, picnic areas, barbecue areas, and gathering spaces were something that kept coming up as well that people were interested in. And on the surveys and the booths, there's a lot of things that people could pick from, but there was also, you could make comments. You could just write in what you think. If we didn't say something that was of concern to you or something, if you had an idea, you want a petting zoo, you can write in you want a petting zoo or whatever.
We really think it's important, obviously, to capture everyone's input, even if it's not on the board. Write it down.
Great.
Ooh. So then, community input round 2 booths to date, with our 3rd coming up in the Bayshore, at the Bayshore School event. Approximately 250 booth participants. This is the same time we're running the online surveys, and so we've had 90 responses as of last night, so that's pretty cool. And the survey also, there's 2 ways to participate online. There's an online survey, and then there's an interactive map where you can actually go to a specific park, one of the 28, and write comments based on that park, and you can do it as many parks as you want. So there are 58 responses as of last night as well. This was, this was a deeper dive, right? This is where we asked more pointed questions. If, if safety was an issue, what is it that you wanted? If playgrounds were an issue, what kind of playgrounds? Or what specific elements?
We took the issues and the items that came up most highly in the first round, where people had more sort of open-ended choices, and we took the things that kept coming up and asked more questions about them. One was about playgrounds. It's like, well, what do you want in a playground? Is it that you want different kind of surfacing rather than the bark? Do you want something that's more of an adventure playground? Do you want something that's more accessible to people with all abilities? So we asked a lot of questions, and again, people can write in whatever they want. We asked about gathering spaces, because the community events and gathering spaces came up. Do we need bigger group picnic areas?
Or just
do we need
more?
Picnic shelters? Right. Do we need places where you can, there can be more large-scale gatherings for community events? So, and since lighting safety came up in a lot of people's concerns, we said, well, what exactly do you mean by safety? Is it, as Melanie said, is it lighting? Is it better visibility? Is it
Enclosed players.
Dogs,
it could be
no dogs allowed. So we were trying to get at what is it that you.
What specifically?
If you're talking about better safety and better maintenance, what specifically do you really what are you thinking about? So that's what these round 2 has been trying to get more detail on.
So here's kind of a breakdown of our input so far. So these are numbers of people with responses. So to kind of look at this key down here. So the purple are Latino Heritage Event booth responses. So you can see that here, 4 people there wanted more updated playgrounds. All abilities access was 11. So if you go to the teal, that's the Phil-Am event booth, and those are adults. So you can see 10 adults wanted challenges for all ages. 10 adults also wanted unique playground features. This other purple color is from the Phil-Am event booth kids. So you see kids are also driving the All Abilities playground and also the unique play features. So here's kind of a little, round recap, kind of All Abilities access leading the way with unique play features and more updated playgrounds. Playgrounds were really, really heavy here for, obviously this was the playground improvement, but here is where, what are your priorities for safety and maintenance? So the same thing. So this first line of purple, gosh, they all look the same color on this, I apologize. This first line of purple is the Latino Heritage Event booth. 7 people said fenced areas for off-leash dogs. The teal is the Phil-Am event booth adults. So 21 people, or 21 adults at the Phil-Am event said upgraded restrooms. This, what was that other teal? I guess it's this purple. Yep, is from the Phil-Am event booth, the kids, and so they're saying 12 kids also said fenced areas for dogs, and then the final one is the online survey here. So 49 people said upgraded restrooms, and 54 over here said better lighting. So you can kind of see the breakdown here. It's kind of cool to see these actual numbers plotted out, because we can tell you they want more of this, but I mean this is really the numbers talking, which is what we want to get to. What do your parks need for gatherings, events? Like Gail was saying, what kind of spaces? What do you want out of those, that comment? You can see down here, Latino Heritage, the booth, there were 9 people who said they wanted music, concerts, and dances. The teal is the Phil-Am event adults. 7 people said small groups or classes. 7 also said music, concerts, and dances. The blue is the Phil-Am event with kids, and so 6 kids said they wanted holiday celebrations. And then finally it's the online
Trunk or treat.
Trunk or treat, yep. Holiday, and then the last one is the online survey, and there were 86 responses on that, and so you can see the big one here, 44 people said they wanted picnic shelter, sun and wind protection. It's tied pretty closely with the small group picnic areas. So you can kind of see where everyone's priorities are shaking out and how they're shaking out compared to the other items. Any questions on this? This is a lot to digest. These take me a couple minutes to read and fully understand. So then how are we, in round 2, how else are we getting the input? So I talked briefly about the survey. There's 2 online input methods, and so these online tools are open until the 30th of November, so there's still plenty of time to get the word out and get people to participate. DalyCityParksPlan.org is your website for this Parks and Open Space Master Plan. You can see there's two choices. Here's the interactive map where I said, you can choose Marchbank Park directly, write in your comments. Then you can go to Hillside, write in your comments. You want to go to Muscle Rock, you write in your comments. It's really cool. You can comment on the parks you use. Comment on the parks you don't use. Maybe you want something there because it's closer to you and there's nothing there. And then there's the online survey, which is just more of a form letter of questions where you can get and give specific answers to those questions. So we encourage people, this is what we really are working to get the word out. We feel the booths and stuff have been very well attended, and this is doing great too, so it's good to see people.
I have a question. In social media, you say you did it as a post or as an ad?
I believe it's been a Facebook post, it's been an Instagram post.
Okay, because when you do an ad, it reach more people right
Yes.
away.
Yeah, you like geofence the area.
yeah.
Yes. And I
Yeah,
know
so-
we did we do a Facebook and an Illustrator?
Instagram?
And Instagram, I believe so.
Yeah.
And I know it was
Because in a
immediately
post,
spiked.
the amount of people you reach is less than when you do the ad.
Yes, it's crazy, yeah.
It's big.
And it's a low cost point too, to reach that many people. And like I said, we can share with you kind of the chart that shows the spike of
Okay,
people
yeah.
when we put those ads up.
And another thing, on the interactive map, in looking at the existing parks, there's a lot of small parks, there's a few big parks. We actually looked at, of the things that people said they were interested in having in the park, whether it was a pump track or a tennis court or whatever, where would they fit?
Right.
So when you go and put your cursor on the park that you're interested in, it'll say, we could have some community garden space here, or we could have an upgraded playground, but we're not going to have a football field here.
We've never given the option for tennis if it's not going to fit. We don't want to lead people astray. So the next steps, we're going to wrap up and consolidate our input. Our final event is in the middle of November. We'll draft recommendations, develop a prioritization criteria. There'll be an administrative draft of the master plan. So like Gail had said, there'll be short, medium, and long-term recommendations. With that goes a cost analysis and recommendation review. We don't want to, recommend anything that can't be built or isn't feasible cost-wise.
Or that goes in the long-term
Yes,
column.
yes, exactly.
Wish list.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the draft parks master plan and open space, and then there'll be review and approval.
So we will be putting up a draft plan with our draft recommendations so that the public can respond. And
That would be our third round of community outreach, would be the response to the draft.
Little question here, when, on your outreach, when you're talking about reaching different areas through means of the library and community centers and senior centers, when you come up to child development centers, or does that group encompass daycare facilities where you can put stuffers in the backpacks for those children that are like 2 to 4?
We haven't done yet.
we can make
That's a
sure
great
that
idea.
that gets distributed to the city daycares. I don't know about the private daycares.
Yeah.
We
And
can
the
look
private
into that.
daycares as well.
The city doesn't have any daycare.
Well,
Oh.
in that case, we'll look at the private daycares.
Well,
No, but-
there is a Tiny Tots program through a
Yeah.
contract with the city.
So maybe it's worth.
And then across the parking lot, there's a private preschool that takes place in a city facility, but it's a contracted provider.
Okay,
That
well.
would be great.
But yeah, and then the Todd Open Gym at Pacelli on Fridays.
Yeah. If we have the contact people for that, if the ones that contract with the city, if we could get those from you, we can also do the research on making sure that we get it to the private groups as well, the private
Thank you.
providers.
Or maybe for the last event, I don't know if you guys use a tablet or an iPad for people to do it online right there in the moment, or maybe I write a piece of paper where they can sign in so you can send them the survey later, or instead, I mean, just to recollect more information,
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a sign-in sheet at each event, so that
Okay.
we can.
You can
We
reach
don't
them
want
up.
to spam them, we tell them that, but at the same time, we do want to be able to.
Yeah,
keep
reach.
track and reach out again.
Well, I have seen the displays at the Hispanic Heritage.
Oh, great.
And it got a lot of attention
Yeah.
from the folks that were there.
Yeah.
And I was impressed to see the different standalone tripods of things that are trying to stay up when there's wind trying to knock it down.
You should have seen us at the farmer's market. It was
It's challenging.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we got sandbags for that.
But
Right.
I was impressed with the way the message was getting out and the layout of the parks in terms of the looking for suggestions to be written on the on the board. And one item that you mentioned at the very top, there's one area that was you put out a part of your outreach to check out is that Muscle Rock. And what kind of feedback or suggestions were you getting on those whiteboards about Muscle Rock that you would call?
Some people would like to see some exercise equipment. It's been pretty low-key. There were a couple of people who would like to see a playground, which is probably not advisable there just because of all the geological conditions
Right.
and the stuff. More picnic tables, benches. A lot of people just really like being out there in the open, looking
To
at
enjoy
the
the view.
ocean. And
It's more
it
passive.
seems to be
Yeah.
mostly used by walkers, joggers, dog walkers, and the gliders.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking along the lines of.
Benches and more seating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're also doing some outreach, so a little bit more focused outreach to youth sports groups, but we also have a contact for someone representing the paragliding community, and we're going to reach out to that person and see whether they have some ideas about other facilities that they think should be there.
Good thought.
Yeah,
It's pretty popular around this area, paragliding.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful spot,
Yeah.
beautiful spot.
Well, thank you very much for a comprehensive report.
Yes, so
that's-
just
yeah.
one more reminder, here's
Sure.
how you can participate.
Yeah,
Woo! I'm
you
always
go.
plugging that.
yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, and the survey is focusing on those areas that came up in the earlier outreach, so the playgrounds, the gathering spaces, the safety maintenance, but there's always room for additional comments, so if people have other ideas that they want to get across, we will definitely, we're tracking everything that we get.
Great,
Okay.
great. Thank you again.
So, if you have any ideas of things that.
Maybe just to try to remember to be inclusive with special needs, and that include blinds and all that. Yeah, right, for the development in the future.
Yeah, yeah, all abilities and special needs, and it's all inclusive. It's really important.
Well, it's really
Good job.
nice.
And that's been reflected in the community input too. People have been telling us that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The multi-generational aspect, you really do hit that all abilities,
Right.
all ages play.
Do you have any other thoughts or questions, Christine?
No, but this is really insightful. Yeah, and Jack has mentioned, I've seen the posters also at the meeting, but also at events, and so it's kind of nice to see actually people having fun with it too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the cool part, getting everybody involved. So it's really great.
The feedback we get at the events is always like, oh my gosh, 28 parks. Oh yeah, I'll give you input, Oh, I want that. It was at the farmer's market, which was the first one. I was pleasantly surprised, and it was great to work that and talk to all of the.
That's great.
Have they have mentioned about skateboards and all those?
Skateboard parks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
there's
just
a little
wonder.
bit. I think they like skate park. Whether or not its condition is up to snuff is questionable. But I don't know that I've gotten specific.
There's been a little bit of write-in about improving the condition, the facilities in the skate park, but not as much
Not
as.
as more.
Not as much as I thought there would be.
Right.
Skaters are pretty creative.
They find places
They
to
can-
skate.
They create their own space.
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, there's certainly the opportunity to improve the ramps and the things in the skate park. And I think, it's one of the places that people had said they might want restrooms.
Yeah.
Great.
An area for concerts. Did they mention some?
Dancing and concerts and music, I believe was.
We can turn in the future Coachella. I don't know.
Yeah. Music concerts and dances. That came up. It's coming up pretty big. on
Okay,
the,
good.
Online survey.
Just
Good.
Just on a note of concert, with the various sites that you've covered, the 28 plus sites, does anyone of those stand out as a potential location to have like a small little seating area venue for musicians to share their music skills and all?
I actually think there's a great opportunity at Gellert.
Yeah.
Kind of, you have that large picnic area that's kind of dilapidated and not really serving its purpose. And then there's a handball wall and kind of a lot of open space. I think you could probably maximize that space. That also has a lot of parking for when
Yeah.
you pull bigger events, which really leans itself to a lot of people attending. Hillside, I believe, could have some opportunity for that too. There's kind of different levels and a lot of the parks. So I will say they're very well maintained. I was like, for having 28 parks, they're all in great shape given the state that they're in. There's a lot of open green on a lot of them that is just kind of, thick crabgrass at this
Yeah.
point. So yeah, there's a couple sites with potential to kind of use those for more events, more usable space as opposed to just
Right.
a kind of big muddy lawn or wet lawn, I guess, is when it's foggy and
Yeah.
the grass. So
Well,
For our
great.
area we're cultivating, this one you put some, right? In the aging population, like area where people can go and plant vegetables
community
and
gardens,
stuff like that. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I see it here.
like I said, there's a lot of underutilized space that I think could be maximize the potential.
Good job.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so
Well,
much.
super.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very comprehensive and eye-opening. It's because of the awareness of this. And for the viewing public, get to use the parks. They're out there for you. And we're open to any new ideas to help with our progress here in terms of the master plan team that was presented to us. So follow our recommendations in terms of reaching out and giving your suggestions. So we ask that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll leave that up for people.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That moves on to commissioners' reports. Since our last meeting, has there been any areas of ideas that were brought up to you as we were going through our communities in different areas that general public might have presented to you, or that you'd like to share, or any experience of any activities that had happened since the last meeting that you'd like to share?
I had one person through Facebook contact me, and but it stopped talking because I said, "Oh, let me go to the commission," and it mentioned something about putting an event of anime stuff like that. But he might come to one meeting, maybe to the next meeting, to see,
Okay,
to expose his idea.
great.
So just,
Well, any thoughts?
2 weeks ago was the Kasayahan Filipino American event, so I was there all day. And it felt well attended. I'm curious, Joseph, if you know any numbers, but it was really exciting. It was just really nice to see the community come out, young and older. So I was just happy to see that, and you were there.
Yeah, I was there in the very early part of it through the introductions, and it was the folks were just starting to filter into the park, coming from the garage parking lot, which was pretty neat because that was pretty convenient to come in from the parking lot there. And on another note, I had the chance to drive by Gellert Park, and it's just a natural for me because I used to coach baseball there quite a bit. Glance over and see what's going on. And Joseph, it looks like the little field that faces Hickey, at Hickey and Callan. Looks like the infield was narrowed, shortened down to become more of a traditional softball type field or a little league field. Has that?
The fields typically close about this time of year
Yeah.
through February or so. The Director of Public Works is here, he might be able to address that. I know there's been some discussion about, it's very difficult to maintain the
Yeah.
grass infields that we have at most of the diamonds, with the
Right.
exception of the one closest to the parking lot. And I know there's been some discussion about maybe skinning some of that turf and making it more like softball field, but I don't know if they've actually done that, or if it's just between seasons.
Yeah.
And they've stripped it down in anticipation of resodding
Yeah.
later in the season. Sorry,
Yeah,
we'll get an
okay,
answer for
right.
you.
Yeah,
But I
'cause
know
from a
that there's been
distance it
some
looked like-
discussion about maybe having fewer grass infields because of the maintenance issues.
Right.
But
Okay.
I'm not aware that they actually have done that. What you may have seen is just closing down of the field for the season, and sometimes they rip it up a little bit and they'll resod where they need to
Right.
resod.
Okay, good, thank you.
I was also,
Yeah.
the weekend, I went to the commissioners workshop.
Yes,
So I, should I, the email, right? There are some, coachings for commissioners that we can go online and we have free coaching and more stuff. So so you guys.
great, great. Thank you for participating in that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. We saw San Mateo County, and it was also Santa Clara County commissioners. They came, and San Mateo County was talking about all the changes that they're gonna do in their park too, and they're doing subterranean parking. That's one thing that I heard, because they have less space in Central Park. So yeah, but it was interesting to look all the time that all the process that it takes them for them to renew their parks.
Yeah,
And different commissioners gave their ideas and their how it is to be a commissioner, and
great,
all
thank
those
you.
little details.
Well, thank you for participating there, Nadia. That's terrific. Moving forward, we have some announcements on some several activities that are happening between now and next couple months. So, Joseph, would you like to review
That
those?
over to Ms. Denise Brown.
Denise, thank you.
All right, so coming up this Friday, we have our haunted pool at the Giamona Pool on Friday, October 26th at 131 Westmore Avenue from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. It's $8 entrance fee for everyone, and it's a little bit scary, but not too bad. So go and enjoy and have fun in the pool and have a little candy and trick-or-treating. Then, of course, the following Friday, we have the trunk or treat and movie in the gym. Used to be in the park, but it's a little cold, so we're going in the gym. We're going to pretend like we're in the park. Anyway, at Westlake Park, Pacelli Gym, 145 Lake Merced Boulevard. It starts at 6 p.m. The trunks are going to be out and about on the back parking lot of Westlake Park. So trunks will be open, they'll all be decorated, and candy out, and then we'll go in the gym and watch a movie,
Coco.
and it is free. We have a movie night at Giamona Pool, Friday the 9th. So we have Friday the 26th, Friday November 2nd, now Friday the 9th, movie night at Giamona Pool, 6 to 9. It's an $8 entrance fee. You get to swim, you get to watch a movie at the same time, multitasking. That's what we like to do. Do you know what the movie is there, Joseph?
The movie's gonna be inside while you are in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
nice.
have a-
nice,
yeah.
nice.
We like to do everything in one location
Yes.
to get you right in there.
That's when you stop eating popcorn.
But there isn't popcorn allowed on the deck, Jack.
Oh, gee.
So you'll have to figure that out.
Okay.
Maybe outside in
Yeah,
the
before you go
classroom.
in.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, November 17th, we're having our War Memorial Madness. It's 3-on-3 basketball tournament for teens up through. And it's 6655 Mission Street, 10 a.m., and it's $20 per team. So anybody that wants to participate, looking forward to a little competition, come on up to War Memorial. And then on, this is our Youth Basketball League, 2019. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, 2019. We have a Youth Basketball League. Registration begins right now. The league runs from January through mid-March, and it's through various gyms throughout Daly City. If you're a resident of Daly City, it's $83 as a resident, $103 if you're a non-resident. It's for grades third grade through 8th grade. We also have team registration, and for more information about all of that, you can call our main line number at 650-991-8001.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to get the last word in, too.
Okay.
We'll have at least one more opportunity to share this information, but I want to get it out as frequently as possible. City facilities will be shutting down this year for the holiday break, so from Saturday, December 22nd through Wednesday, January 2nd. City offices, including City Hall, will be closed. Our admin offices will be closed. Obviously, police and fire will continue to work, and the sewage treatment plant will continue to work, but libraries, community centers, and offices, for the most part, will be dark during that period.
That means the permits department as well will be closed. The building permits department
Yeah,
will be closed.
pretty much everything at City Hall will be closed with the exception of the police department.
Okay, got you.
From December 22nd to January?
6,
December 22nd to January 2,
2.
Two.
Okay,
2019.
there you go.
January
Thank you
2nd.
for that public
We don't work
service
on
information.
New Year's Day. New Year's Day is a holiday. It's January 2nd.
Okay. Well, before we adjourn tonight,
One other thing I want to know too.
Oh, go ahead.
Our December meeting, if you so choose to have it, would be on Christmas Day, December 25. We can talk about that in the November
Yeah.
meeting. I just wanted to plant that seed with you. I will be here if you want to be here for sure.
I'm still thinking
There's
about
no
turkey.
better way to spend Christmas than with you, but
Yeah. Before I call this meeting to be adjourned, I want to remind the parents, Halloween is happening. So as you're going around trick or treating and you're walking in your intersections or on your sidewalks, look both ways. Wear your illuminating outfits so that people can see them. And for those who are watching this evening and driving, just be careful in the community, especially in the neighborhoods on Halloween night, because kids are out there trick-or-treating for fun. So that's what I wanted to share this evening as well. But that's it. And as I mentioned, next meeting is November 27th, same chambers meeting. And that should be it for tonight. To have a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Motion.
Okay. Those in favor of ending this evening's meeting, do say aye.
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 This meeting is now closed. Thank you.